What is up, my Lorcana Goons, and welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. You're watching the Friday Weekly Market Watch, where we go over Lorcana news, meta trends, and card prices. We're joined with Zach Stone, who joins us every Friday, so we can talk about all of these things, including the Lorcana metagame. One of the first things I want to talk about today, Zach Stone, is going to be this tidbit of news we got yesterday, last night, where they announced that they're having a basically Japanese promos for what it's going to be their version of DLCs, their pathway to the World Tournament for them. That's going to be really cool. As you can see here, we have Japanese Cinderella and Japanese Rapunzel gifted with healing. Love to see, and you can see the reactions of the Japanese players as well too. Really awesome. It's called the Disney Lorcana Grand Prix. Will be held in May and July. Prizes include the promos, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be their ticket to the World Tournament. I went ahead and quote tweeted it because I have an opinion where this means that we're not probably getting the World Tournament till after July, because I'm pretty sure they're going to include Japanese and Chinese players as well. So I also think that's definitely means there's no DLCs for us. But Zach, how you doing today? What's your opinion on this?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking, and happy Friday to all the Goon Squad members watching this market watch today. We're so happy you're here with us. But yeah, this is, this is like some hard to swallow news because I'm a very much competitive player. I think last year we got the announcements around March, and we didn't have a DLC until like 2 months after that. So I think it's always safe to say that like from wherever we are currently is if we don't have any updates or any announcements that we won't see any DLCs from like 2 to 3 months away. It only makes sense to give players that enough time to plan and coordinate travel accommodations. But this is somewhat of a good step because we are seeing some competitive Lorcana happen in other parts of the world, and they are trying to make sure that this game reaches different continents and has a wider reach. And I know they're really working on a lot of their local game store programs to try to increase the more standard play. I think that is what's more or less important for the longevity of a card game, so I can see why they're doing it this way.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see that we're getting little tidbits of Worlds news, but it does feel like there is a lack of communication for that sort of thing. And I know a lot of us are fiending for DLCs and competitive circuit events, which, we have set champs, we have the local events. So shout out all the local stores for throwing awesome events in the time being. Even without DLCs, we're still seeing meta trends happen week by week. 2 weeks ago, everybody was playing Sapphire Steel, and now it feels like the flavor of the week, as you like to say, is Sapphire Ruby. Still a Sapphire deck, though. Everyone discussing what cards need to be banned and whatnot. But we're going to talk about some small meta trends because there hasn't really been much changing outside of a little, small little trends. Like the Tamatoa Happy as a clam over here still selling for more than $50, which is going to be your best chase from the Arcasia's Island booster boxes. Lowest verified for a Nearman is going to be $56. So still around 55 plus some extra shipping and or taxes there for your non-foil version, and your cold foil versions are going to still be sitting at $65, which is not too bad, only about $10 to $12 more. ENR Gaming is the lowest verified at 67.74 right there for your Tamatoa Happy as a clam. That's going to be for the cold foil, actually. And then I want to talk about the Maui Half Shark over here. Maui Half Shark pretty popular this meta now that Ruby Sapphire is kind of coming back into the groove of things. Check this out. They are It's going to be $40 right now, which is pretty cheap compared to where they were. These used to be like more like closer to $50 if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, well, I've seen actually these sharks kind of dip a little bit below the $40 price range this past couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
we're seeing it kind of go back and forth, and this is something that is very important to recognize for competitive cards, is that they go on this little wave, they like to ride the wave, no pun intended with the Maui reference, but it's definitely something that I like to see in a card game. I like to see prices still remain relatively like healthy. It's important for markets. It's important for these cards to have these good prices because it justifies like the actual price of the product. The chances of getting these cards are not guaranteed, so you have to take a chance when you buy a box to hopefully pull what you need. But you can just buy the individual card, which we always recommend you guys do. And if you guys are looking for any of these cards and you're in the Southern California area, I am located at Frankenstein's Collectible Show in City of Industry, there every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Kevin is at the Shops of Carlsbad, aka Ninja Exchange, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you are in our local Southern California area and you would like to purchase some cards from us, help support the Goon Squad, you can feel free to drop by. I do have some shout outs I'd like to give to two guys, Alex and Jay. Really appreciate you guys for visiting me this past week and helping me out, supporting the business and supporting the brand. Really appreciate all you guys, and Shady Peach, of course. He always comes by every few weeks and drops off a nice little lot. Check out his openings on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, shout out Shady Peach. He's the guy that we showed a couple weeks ago on the Market Watch where he ordered a box from Amazon and ended up being open. Ended up being what was it? It was Pokemon packs, right? Well, they were like open Lorcana
Basically,
packs with Pokemon cards in there. Terrible. But yeah, a huge shout out to Shady Peach. Still looking forward to that video. Your Maui Half Shark foils, by the way, are going to be $60 if you guys want them in cold foil. Shout out Manny from our locals for pulling that on his first place prize packs. That was really cool. I want to talk about Scrooge McDuck. This card just keeps going down in price. They were closer to like $40 upon release week, and this card has for sure been coming down in price. Lowest verified is going to be Andy Rue cards for $23 for your Scrooge McDucks. Cold foils are still sitting at closer to $40, which is not too bad. These were around 45 to 50 at the most, but they've at least been chilling, not too. They've at least been coming down to a decent price, right? $40 is still close to what you've been paying for in the last couple weeks. So if you bought these at like $50, it's not too big of a drop. This card's still very good. This Sapphire Steel is probably the deck that's you really playing this, but you can still play it in a Sapphire Ruby strategy if that's what you're going for. Strength of a Raging Fire also coming down in price. Zach, you mentioned that it kind of seems like people are realizing, hey, I can sell some of these cards and make some of the money back that I've been spending on the game. I personally, like, I know a lot of people play more than just one card game, so that could be a little bit heavy on your wallet. So maybe some people are listing more and more of their cards. But today you can find a Strength of a Raging Fire no longer at $20. You can find them at around $15.73 by Removal Wins Games. We also have 1601 right here by BCB Games, and there's even Japanese versions already of this card listed, because if you didn't know, you can buy the Japanese version of Rise of the Floodborn booster boxes online now. They're probably around $60, but you can pull Japanese versions of your favorite set 2 cards, and that is making an impact on the market too, because there's technically more available, and you can use the Japanese cards in your Western TCG locals, which is really cool. But yeah, Strength of Raging Fire down to around $16, no longer in that $20 range, and the cold foils have settled at around $30. These were obviously very hyped, and we had some sales happening at 45, 50 even at one point, but in the last couple days we've seen some for 33. Somebody bought a playset for $38.99, $45, and it doesn't show the shipping prices there, but lowest verified today is $29.99 with $1.31 shipping by JST Collectibles. Shout out you guys for having these low prices. And then Jelly's trading cards, $30 with $2 shipping. More and more low prices for these cards. I feel like with no events happening, the Lorcana spaces, people are selling off their stuff right now. That's what it feels like, right?
trend, or I've seen people like come and sell me cards and tell me like, yeah, I'm gonna buy some of these back when I'm ready to play again. It's just there's nothing to play for. And that's up to the individual, because in our local area we do have a good amount of a competitive scene. We have some local game stores that give over 20 players just for their local like $5 entry tournaments, and that's pretty good to see. But with no actual events to like fly, compete in and showcase all these skills you've like obtained while playing at your local game stores, all we're left with is set champs, I think, in a month, right? So that's a lot for some people. Some people are looking forward to those set champs, and we always kind of recommend that you order your cards at about a few weeks in advance if you plan on playing in any of these tournaments and you need these cards. It does take some time for the cards to get to your mailbox if it's being shipped. Just if you consider spending a little bit more on TCG, that way they have to track their orders. A card that I know I've been selling out of and only have very few left is the Sisu Empowered Sibling. It's $21 today, and you only can get one copy at that price. And I think they're going to kind of fluctuate between $21 to $23 for the first few listings. And yeah, so pretty much the amount that you'd have to pay to get like a playset is closer to around like $85-$90, and that makes sense. This is a card that I know when it first came out, it started at $16, like doubled in the next few days, and then slowly but surely it's settled to around like the $15-$20 price range, and it's not going anywhere. Cold foils, I believe, are only like 27, 28, maybe even 30. But they essentially have an enchanted art, so that is the max rarity. Something that we always like to talk about on our market watches is that the legendaries or the cold foil versions of cards that also have an enchanted art don't seem to go double the price like some of the cold foils can.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The enchanted versions of these cards tend to have a way more like a higher price tag on them. And if it has an enchanted rare and it's a legendary, then the cold foil is not going to be too much more expensive. So $26 is going to be the lowest verified by King Toys, and around $22 is going to be for the non-foil. So maybe you want to spend the extra $4 and just get a shiny version of this card. But yeah, Zach, you mentioned when this card first came out that it was going to be meta defining, and you have not been wrong. Definitely very playable in Ruby Sapphire. I even like it in Ruby Amethyst. I know a lot of people like it in Ruby Amethyst, like Ed Chu, who won nationals playing this card in his Ruby Amethyst build. And yeah, it's never gonna. It doesn't seem like it's gonna like fade away anytime soon. With Ruby Sapphire once again on the rise, it doesn't surprise me that this card is back at $20+. And same thing, I've seen a lot of people ask for it. I want to talk about Doc Bold Knight because just like Calhoun, I feel like this card is being played in almost every iteration of Steel. You have Sapphire Steel aggro, Amethyst Steel, even Amber Steel finding success this past weekend in a lot of tournaments where you have a strategy where you can flood the board and just play Doc right after. Doesn't surprise me that this card is selling for $10 again. Andy Rue cards, they've been at close to $10 for a very long time, but they were kind of dwindling down at around 8 or 9 and whatnot. But yeah, we have plenty of people who have them at $10 right here, lowest verified, and a lot of people have multiple playsets too, which is really good. So if you want an entire playset, you can get it from Andy Rue cards here, $10 each, which is not too bad at all for your Doc Bold Knights, which is again a very good card for your aggro strategies. And it feels like if you're not playing Sapphire, then you're playing a deck that can combat Sapphire, which is more than likely more of an aggressive deck, right? Aggressive meaning you're just trying to end the game as fast as possible. You're trying to race to 20 before they can, set up their item combos. For a cold foil Doc though, you're paying around $16 right here by Collector Store, 15.99 right there, and I think those are some pretty good numbers right now, especially when they were selling for around $20 in the beginning of March. More and more cards just coming down in price. A card going up in price though, Ariel Treasure Collector. I mentioned this on Monday because I've been seeing people play this in their Sapphire Steel decks, and even Zan Syed was showcasing this card in his recent Sapphire Steel list for their online tournaments that they've been playing. Near Mint is going to be $4.72 with $5 shipping. Oh, that's not right. We got to change this. Near Mint is going to be $4.99 with $1.31 shipping by TCG Southside. Then it jumps to $6.98 shipping included by ENR Gaming. So anywhere from $5 to $7 for your cold foil Aerial Treasure Collectors, which is pretty nice if you're a Sapphire player and you've been holding on to this card. It's back up and it is trending once again.
Yeah, not so much a surprise because it has been seeing a lot of play. It's a nice tech option for Sapphire Steel players. Something to play early that has a lot of lore value is really good to make sure your lucky dimes are closing out the game. And not only, it's a surprise to see this card come out and play sometimes because then, most decks don't have an answer to it. Ward is a very strong keyword that basically says, I can't be removed unless you have a board wipe or unless I turn my character sideways. And you don't have to quest with these characters, but it pretty much puts a lot of people on a clock when this aerial comes down, because if it does have the ability to gain itself 2 extra lore value, that's like a 4-turn clock or a 3-turn clock actually, because all you do
Yeah.
is dime tap it twice, and then on the next turn you're going to quest and dime again. So that's 20 lore in just 3 turns. It's a
Yeah.
very scary card. I don't know how many steel decks are prepared for this card with challenging ready characters, but it's something that does come in and out of the meta, and I do like seeing it shape up to be that way.
Yeah, it's either you challenge it as a ready character using something like Cinderella Stouthearted or Li Shang or something, or you're playing Grab Your Swords, or maybe you're me and you're running Beaking Undisputed again in your Ruby Amethyst deck. Pro tip right there for any Ruby Amethyst enjoyers that are keeping that dream alive. I do want to go over some of these D100 promos. Zach, you brought them to my attention that they have been trending upward again, which is very interesting to see. If you don't know what these cards are, during the original Rise of the Floodborn release, the gift set for that set came with 4 packs of Rise of the Floodborn and I believe 5 promos, right? No, 6. It was a pack of 6 promos. You got the Stitch, the Elsa, the Genie, the Maleficent, Mickey Mouse, and Maui. And some of these are shooting up in price. Stitch Abomination, which Stitch is a fan favorite in the Disney IP, if you guys didn't know. It's just shooting up from March, the beginning of March to the beginning of April right here. Lowest verified is now 1540 for this one single card, which is pretty nice, especially when you compare it to this Elsa as well. Elsa, another fan favorite, kind of going back up in price in the last couple months or so. Lowest verified is going to be $10.99 with some extra shipping, then $12.49 shipping included by R&R Gaming and Two Bros and a box. That's very interesting right there. So that's already like getting very close to $30 in value, and then this Genie right here, this one's going to be around $7 lowest verified, $7.49 by MCTCG. So getting very close to about a $40 value for those three cards, and I believe the gift set right now sells for anywhere like what the for $50. I think MSRP was like $50 or so, or $40 at the time, right?
49.99. I do remember that because it was a little bit more than what your original gift sets were due to the promos being inside, but it's going to kind of show you that for as long as the game is going to be played, or as long as the game will be in circulation, we don't know if these are promos that we'll see again.
Yeah,
So that's something to always keep in mind. I will say though that these are a little bit harder to move, just from my experience.
yeah,
I sometimes will have some in my binder. I really like to buy them in individually because I still have a lot of those sealed promo little things
little packs.
tucked away somewhere. Yeah, I was gonna actually want to. I wanted to like try to move a little bit, just individual cards, because the Stitch does sell a little bit better than the other ones. Elsa is about the closest one to it. But every once in a while they get slowly picked up, and people sometimes find out how cheap some of the other ones are, like the Maui and the Maleficent. They're like, "Oh, I'll buy that. That's no problem." You tell them Stitch is $20, they might be like, "Oh, I like Stitch, but not like that much."
Yeah, no, there's some Stitch collectors though. Like I've had a lot of people actually just request Stitch cards, which is really interesting. But yeah, let's talk about some.
100%.
Yeah, let's talk about some enchanted news. The enchanted rare Tamatoa, happy as a clam. This is the chase from Arcasia's Island, settling at $400 now. We're not really seeing sales at that 500, 450 range anymore. Most recent sale was on the 31st of March for 435. Day before that, 430 and 432. So 430 really are the recent comps for those. But we do have two pair collectibles. They can give it to you at a little bit of a discount if you want to pay 400 with $1 shipping. They have you right there ready to go. Next up, it's going to be Take My Energy at 419 with shipping included. So a little bit less than 430, which were the recent comps if you're trying to pick up some shiny Tamatoas for your collection. You got to talk about this Stitch Rockstar Store Championship promo since we were talking about the Stitch hype right now. Zach, I know you were telling me that the lowest listings are going to be around $500 now. Play to Win Games has the lowest verified at $4.99, 97 cents shipping included. Then it jumps to $5.99 for a PSA 9, $6.99 by Capybara Cards for a raw version of this card. Let's look at the recent sales though, because as we know, listing price does not necessarily mean the market price or the sale price, and no one's buying it for $500, but people are definitely paying $400 for it on TCG Player. March 26th and March 14th are the recent sales at $3.99, and that's kind of what I saw last week too. There's very little listings though, is really the issue, and half of these are PSA graded. So to find a raw version of this card, it's kind of hard right now on TCG Player at least, and probably on eBay. I'm sure people are already kind of taking note of this, right?
Exactly, for eBay. I'm not too keen, or I watch a lot of prices on eBay. I mainly stick to TCG Player for more of your playables and enchanteds because it's a very easy reference to find prices. A lot of data is available there too. I don't know how to find that data on eBay per se. I'm sure it's there because eBay does own TCG Player. But this is a very good thing to see for those that were, more or less investing, collecting, deciding to hold on to their Stitches when they won them, because I remember this card out the gate was being priced around $800 to $1,000. We saw prices settle to as low as about 300, maybe 350, and it stayed there for a very long time. And it had me a little worried that maybe I missed my chance to move a Stitch at a better price, but seeing these prices go back up give me some more reassurance that these are cards that will retain longer value the more you held on to them. A PSA 10 is available for $950. Make sure to check out Monday's Market Watch where Kevin goes over the PSA prices.
Yes, on Mondays I go over PSA prices for some recent sales. Maybe some of these will sell. But on eBay, yeah, some people have it listed for 500, 400 still. So if you want to get some raws, you can still find them for around 400 on eBay. But again, there's not that many available from what it looks like. A lot of them look graded. And so if you're someone who doesn't want graded cards, it's going to be a little bit harder and harder to find the raw Stitch. And maybe you're just someone who wants to get it graded yourself. You might as well just buy this PSA 10 slab for almost $1,000 because all the other ones are listed at some pretty absurd prices, in my opinion. Let's go over some other enchanteds. Tramp, the Enterprising Dog, one of my favorite cards from the set. Just because I'm really into the Turn a Dog deck. I really like playing the deck. Has been settling at around 150 to 180. We have recent sales at 137, which is nice to see. And these actually happened yesterday. Two of them selling for 137, another one for 135, 136. So we did see listings for these at closer to 200, but it looks like when they're listed at less than 150, they sell pretty quickly. But today, lowest verified is going to be $160 by Coup Cards, which is pretty cool too. Because once again, if you're cracking open Arcasia's Island booster boxes, you have some really good hits. There's some really good enchanted in this set. We have Tramp, you have Aurora Waking Beauty, you have All Is Found. Some of those are just my favorites. I think they did a really good job with this set in terms of the enchanted artwork, and I really hope they keep it up in the future. Bolt, the Super Dog, this one is selling for as high as 177. That's going to be the lowest verified today if you want to buy a Bolt Super Dog on TCG Player. Most recent sales are a little bit cheaper than that. We have a sale from yesterday at 114.41, then on the 31st for 112. It's way cheaper than some of these other listings that sold for $200. So if you pay 200, it might have been a little bit too high because today there's plenty that are less than 200, right?
Absolutely. It's always important to get data between cards that are like what's actually selling for and what it's being listed at. As a vendor, to protect ourselves, we always reference the lower price, whether it's the last sold or the lowest listed. We take whatever's lower and pay out a percentage on that. If you feel like a card might be a little bit more worth it than that, or if you think that the price actually just hasn't like reflected of what it actually market price should be going to, I always implore people to hang on and hold some of these cards that they feel like are a little bit more valuable to them than what people are willing to pay or trade for. Chernabog, Evildoer Enchanted, another one of my favorite enchanteds. This card is seeing a little bit more sales. I don't think the price has gone too high because I've always seen it around this price range for a while, but we don't see too many of them at the $80 mark anymore. Once the first two get purchased, the next one you have to buy is $87.99. Shouts to Lore Alley. He's in our Discord server, and if you're not in the Lorcana Goon Squad Discord, you are missing out. A lot of people sharing these awesome decks or these cool, preferences to prices. So many people are bringing up some of these cards we're talking about today in our Discord server. So if you want to stay up to date with the latest news and get on these prices, on these deals when they're happening, make sure to get in our Discord server. I know that Star City Games, it's already over, so if you guys are listening to us now, it's too late, but they had a sale, and I think some people picked up Enchanted Elses at like $750, which is crazy. That's about $100 more than what I've offered on some else's in the past, like, week or so. So it's really cool to see that some of these stores or some of these like shops online are doing some nice deals, helping get some of these collectible cards to these collectors' hands. And you got to make sure you're keeping up with these prices day to day. And our videos only come out twice a week. You might want to get on our Discord server to stay up to date on the daily.
Yeah, that's them deals. Shout out Wonderful in our Discord for letting people know that there was a pretty big enchanted sale on that website. But yeah, Chernabog, Evildoer, you play this in the Chernadog deck. You can play three of them, which is pretty cool. And they just been going up in price little by little, like Zach was saying. Most recent sales are still in the $80-ish price range. We have one just 2 days ago for 87, on the first for 80, another on the first for 85. This one is just seeing a lot of sales movement though. That's really what I want to point out. So it's not going to surprise me when on Monday I look at this card and they're already listed at 100 plus dollars. So if you haven't gotten your Churnabogs yet, I'm personally, I want to get my Churnabogs before they get up to 100 because I really like the deck. I really want to play the green yellow dog deck with enchanted champs and enchanted Churnadogs. A little out of my budget right now though, but still, I think it'd be really cool. But before we call it a day on this Friday Market Watch, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our Patreon members. I'm going to be giving away a random Patreon member once a month a small token. So this time we're going to give a couple packs of the Arcasia's Island booster with some cards signed by Zach and I. So let's see who's getting it from the Patreon. We're going to see who gets it. It's going to be... We have Brian from our Patreon. Congrats, Brian. You're going to get a free little token of appreciation for being a Patreon member. Really appreciate you. I don't know if I can message you directly on Patreon, but if you're watching, please reach out to us, leave a comment, and then we'll get in contact with you. And then last but not least, I want to raffle off a Dragonfire promo as a small token of thanks to all the regular Lorcana Goons subscribers. We just hit 7,000 subscribers, which means a lot to us. And, every 1,000 subscribers, we've been giving away some stuff. I missed it on the 6K mark, but we'll make it up. And we're going to give away a Dragonfire promo for the 7K mark. So if you're still watching this video, congratulations. You're going to be eligible for this. All you got to do is like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you're looking forward to in the next set, which is going to be Reign of Jafar. Or let us know if there's any cards or enchanters that you want to see in that set, any future Disney IPs. Just leave a comment about anything, honestly, and you'll be included. I'm not picky. So feel free to do that. Thanks again for being Lorcana Goons subscribers. We're been wrapping up the schedule. I've been doing live live streams on Wednesdays and Thursdays too. So if you guys can keep up with those videos, we really appreciate it. But until then, remember to stay tuned to Lorcana Goons. Zach, anything you want to say?
Just want to say happy Friday to all the Goon Squad members that are still with us watching this video. We really appreciate all the support. Stay until the very end, and we'll see you Goons next time.